Good evening. The regular meeting of the Richmond Board of Education will come to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Angela, if you could please read our mission statement.
Yes. At Richmond Community School, we provide a quality education that empowers students to be successful in a global community.
Thank you. Roll call.
Deb?
Here.
Sherry is absent with notice. Danielle?
Here.
Kyle?
Here.
James?
Here.
Margaret?
Here.
And I am here. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Before we approve our agenda, we do need to make some amendments. We will be changing agenda item 8A to agenda item 8B, which is our closed session for our student discipline hearing. We're going to add agenda item 8A, again, another closed session for our student discipline hearing. We're going to remove agenda item 9C, student and bus tracking system. We're going to change agenda item 9B to agenda item 9C. We're going to change agenda item 14.4 to agenda item 14A2, which is the approval of the board resolution for our discipline hearing. And we're going to add agenda item 14A1, approval of a board resolution again for our discipline hearing. We will be removing the agenda item 14C for the approval of a vehicle for our purchases. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the amended agenda.
So moved.
Do I have support?
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Do I have any support?
Support.
Thank you. Mr. Walmsley, any discussion?
Yes, we have a resignation of Christina Peets, who is the middle school building COVID aide. Mr. Reinhardt will be leaving us at the end of this school year. He will be taking a position in another district. We have 3 retirements. Mr. Noose, who is a middle school and high school health and PE teacher. He will be retiring in June after 32 years of service to the district. Teresa Ranger, elementary school first grade teacher, will also be retiring in June after 26 years of service. And Mr. Slater, high school science teacher, will also be retiring in June after 32 years of service. So those that are retiring, we will honor at an upcoming board meeting in June. New hires, Ellen Kaufman, and I apologize to Mary off the bat, Mary D. Junkie. I think that's how you pronounce her name. They've been hired as Title I tutors for St. Augustine's School. They are paid using the district's Title I allocation for St. Augustine's, so they will be working at St. Augustine's. So there were no corrections regarding the regular meeting minutes from April 25th, and there were no questions regarding the claims and accounts report.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. At this time, we will be having a presentation from Mr. Castle for our class of 2022 top 10 students.
Good evening, members of the Board of Education and Superintendent Walmsley. Tonight it's my pleasure to introduce the Richmond High School class of 2022 top 10. These students represent some of the best, brightest, and certainly hardest working young men and women that we have at Richmond High School. Their academic resumes include the most challenging courses that we have to offer at Richmond High School and beyond, with many of our students taking college courses as high school students. While certainly academically gifted, I have witnessed the hard work, dedication, and singular focus on excellence that each of these 10 individuals have displayed over the past 4 years. This group is not only academically extraordinary, but have also excelled in many clubs, extracurriculars, and athletics. Included in this group, we have award-winning members with a band and choir, award-winning artists, and 3 state champion athletes. This group truly epitomizes what it means to be a well-rounded Blue Devil. Ladies and gentlemen, as I call your name, please step forward with members of your family if they're in attendance and accept your top 10 medal. First, we have Katarina Lindsay. Katarina's parents are Christine and Donald Lindsay, and Katarina is leaving us with a 4.011 GPA, and she is a member of the National Honor Society. Her post-secondary plans include attending SC4 for an Associate of Arts degree, and then transfer to Open University for a studio art and drawing degree, where she wants to become a storyboard artist for kids' cartoons. She says her greatest academic achievement is being honorable mention from the Berlin Blank Center for Scholastic Art and Writing Awards, and her first novel, Dave Gardner. She states that her greatest academic influence are her mom and dad. Congratulations. And her very best memory of Richmond Community Schools is being together and a part of a fun, welcoming, supportive, and awesome table of friends she has in basic design class during her senior year. Congratulations, Katarina. Also mentioned Katarina is a member of our Blue Water Area Conference All Academic Team, so congratulations. Next, we have Gracie Ellis. With her parents, Patrick and Kimberly Ellis. Gracie's going to leave us with a 4.021 GPA, and she's also a member of the National Honor Society. Her post-secondary plans include attending Saginaw Valley State University to study pre-health professions. She states that her greatest academic achievement was completing 21 dual enrollment credit hours while enrolled in Richmond Community Schools. Her greatest academic influence is her brother, Dale Goodlow. And her fondest memory of Richmond Community Schools is doing the announcements every morning with one of her best friends, Hannah Drew. She's one of the voices of Richmond High School. Congratulations, Tracy. Next, we have Mia Morgan. I don't think Mia is in attendance tonight. She could make it. But just very quickly about Mia, her parents are Michelle and Jamie Morgan. She's leaving us with a 4.027 GPA, and she is a historian of the National Honor Society. Post-secondary plans for Mia are to attend Saginaw Valley State University, where she will major in business. And she states that her greatest academic achievement is passing the AP Gulf test. Her greatest academic influence is her parents and Senora Smallwood. Her favorite memory at RCS are school dances and the Spanish field trip to the DIA. So Mia, wherever you are, congratulations. Next, we have Stephanie Lindsay. Stephanie, again, with parents Christine and Don Lindsay. Congratulations, Lindsay. It's leaving us with a 4.042 GPA. And her post-secondary plans are to attend at St. Clair Community College to study graphic design and then possibly transfer to Open University to get her bachelor's degree. She states that her greatest academic achievement was receiving a silver key at the 2022 Scholastic Art and Writing Awards for her digital art. Stephanie says her greatest academic influence is her teacher here, Mrs. Hagan. Her best memory of RCS is attending the 2021 homecoming dance with her sister Katarina and taking pictures for the yearbook. Stephanie is also a member of our Blue Water Area Conference All Academic Team, as well as our Macomb Area All Academic Team. Congratulations. Next, we have Colin Boyd. With parents Scott and April Boyd. Colin has a GPA of 4.076 and is also a member of our National Honor Society. Post-secondary, he plans on attending Macomb Community College and eventually transferring to Open University for a degree in physical therapy. He states that his greatest academic achievement was maintaining honor roll throughout his entire academic career and being part of the top 10. His greatest academic influence are his family, his parents, and all of his friends. His best memory of RCS is the band senior night. Congratulations, Tom. Next, we have Olivia Toy. With her parents, Jeff and Kara Toy. Olivia, or Liv as we call her, has a 4.076 GPA and is Secretary of the National Honor Society. Her post-secondary plans are to attend Open University to study nursing. Her greatest academic achievement was achieving the Scholar Athlete Award, and her greatest academic influence is, I'm very humble to say, me and her parents. Her best memory at Richmond Community Schools is winning the state championship in softball. And as we mentioned earlier, she was the Blue Water Area Conference Scholar Athlete Female Representative for Richmond High School. Congratulations. Amira Bashi. She's here with parents Anika Waddell and Akram Bashi. She has a GPA of 4.125 and plans on attending Michigan State University after graduating from Richmond High School. She states that her greatest academic achievement was being in the top 10. Her greatest academic influence was her sister Alicia Bashi and Dr. Ladd. Amira's greatest memory of RCS was painting her parking spot on that hot summer day. Very proud to say that Amira was part of our Blue Water Area Conference All Academic Team. Congratulations, Amira. Next, we have Sophie Franti. With parents Joanne and James Franti. Sophie is leaving us with a GPA of 4.129 and is treasurer of the National Honor Society. Her post-secondary plans include to attend the University of Toledo. Her greatest academic achievement is completing 24 credits of dual enrollment during her high school tenure. Her greatest academic influence is Dr. Ladd and her parents. Her favorite memory of RCS is participating in the mock trial for sophomore year of high school. Congratulations, Sophie. Emma Goldberg. With her parents Tricia and Jason Milgram. Emma leaves us with a GPA of 4.186, and she serves as the Vice President of the National Honor Society at Richmond High School. Her post-secondary plans are to attend Central Michigan University to study neuroscience. She states that her greatest academic achievement was achieving a 1410 SAT score and writing her final paper for economics. Emma says that her greatest academic influence at Richmond High School was Dr. Ladd, and her greatest memory was all of the band camps spent with her friends. Emma is impressed to be part of our Blue Water Area Conference All Academic Team and Macomb Area Conference All Academic Team. Congratulations. Emma Schuler. Their parents, Shannon and Scott Schuler. Emma's going to leave us with a 4.194 GPA and president of the National Honor Society. Her post-secondary plans are to attend the University of Toledo to study engineering. She states that her greatest academic achievement was finishing first in the class of 2022, and her greatest academic influence is Dr. Ladd, her principal, and her papa and grandma. Her best memory is stealing donuts from me every Friday. Thank you, Mama. Congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen, the class of 2022 top 10. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kessel. Okay, our next item on our agenda, I am looking for a motion to go into closed session for a student discipline hearing.
Pursuant to Section 8E of the Michigan Open Meetings Act and upon the request of the student's parent and/or guardian, I move that the Board of Education go into a closed session for the purpose of conducting a hearing to consider the discipline of a student whose identity is known as Student 012422-A.
Can I have support?
Support.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We will be going into closed session, and then when we come out, we'll continue with our business. We're going to go back into open
I
session.
appreciate that, thank you.
Sorry. At 7:21. I need another motion at this time to go back into closed session for another student discipline hearing.
Pursuant to Section 8B of the Michigan Open Meetings Act and upon the request of the student's parent and/or guardian, I move that the Board of Education go into closed session for the purpose of conducting a hearing to consider the discipline of a student whose identity is known as Student 050922.
Do I have support?
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, I missed the part. Is there any discussion? Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we will be going back into closed session. We're going back into open session at 8:17. Okay, our next item on the agenda, we have a presentation from Ms. Walmsley about the custodian handbook.
Great. Every year you usually get a student handbook and so forth, and we also have an employee handbook that we revise and amend every year. Since we are bringing the custodians back in-house, we have never had one specifically for custodians. So what you have in front of you is our best attempt in terms of establishing our first custodial handbook. I can't tell you when the last custodian had one. Probably when you had custodians that were in-house back in 2009-ish, somewhere in that time frame. So in the packet you have, it gives you the scope and sequence of all the components of the custodial handbooks, all the legal issues or legal statements that we have to have in the handbook. It speaks to the benefits that are in the individual contracts, which I shared at the last board meeting when I gave you an update on the custodian, the organizational structure, and I'll just kind of glance through or touch base on it. If you have a specific question, if you have a chance to read it either from the board packet or before you approve it at the next board meeting. It talks about the broad roles of the supervisor of the custodians, as well as the broad roles of the two different types of custodians, general maintenance custodians, as well as AM and afternoon custodians. You'll speak to their training, their benefits, keys that we issue, badges, from district emails that we provide, the template, understanding that we have a zero tolerance for substance abuse, particularly with custodians who will be dealing with equipment. They are considered at-will employees. There's an employee discipline, and there's a whole section on what might lead to discipline and the failure of, or the steps to discipline. Student safety, attendance, what the expectation is for attendance, what's considered excused absence and unexcused absence, etc. And tardies. It's all the facets of the position. When we have a vacancy, how we post it. If there's a school closure, what the expectation of custodians, they would be expected to still continue to come to work unless otherwise directed differently. There's a probationary period for new employees. They would be evaluated yearly. The working conditions, if they're called in on a Saturday because we have or a Sunday or late in the evening, then there's a water leak or something that's got to be cleaned up. You know, it's a minimum of 2 hours to be credited towards the employee for time worked. They are also in the first line of processing work orders, so it outlines the process, whether we complete that work order in-house or through a third party. It talks about how they accumulate their personal time. It's up to 96 hours a year, basically 12 days if you consider an 8-hour work day. It defines their holiday, vacation, bereavement. Most of this is very consistent with other bargaining units, so this is nothing different. There's clarification of leave of absences outside of paid time. If there was an injury or something, how they would return to work for medical, getting medical documentation. If they're required to drive or go somewhere to the ISD, pick something up or to restore, how they submit mileage. Their benefits, They are like every other employee. They pay, the district pays up to the hard cap. We offer single subscriber. In this group's particular case, they would be paying nothing for health insurance. And then when you look at the dental, vision, life, accidental, and long-term disability, they would pay nothing for those benefits. Because this is the first year, there's a disclaimer on page 20 in the handbook. After that year, they don't have to wait the 90 days. We have to gather our pool of employees and kind of what their characteristics and makeup are for our insurance rates going forward. It talks about what uniforms they'll be getting, when they'll be getting them, the use of district vehicles, etc. So this would be the handbook that once they are officially offered and hired in our hiring process, that we would be going over this with them to explain basically all the guidelines for the custodians. So I would ask the board to officially approve this as the official handbook for the custodian at the next board meeting.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Walmsley? So take a look at it, and we will address it next week.
Is there a signature page for the employees sign that they read it? I didn't
When
see
we
mine.
hire, there is a form that we use that they acknowledge they've received the
Oh,
handbook.
okay.
So that they have a copy. And then,
Okay.
it speaks to in here about the email communication. That is our district's main, so if there's ever changes to it, we email it to them so we know that they've
Okay.
officially got it.
Okay,
Thank you.
Okay?
thank you.
Okay. Our next agenda item is our K12 Science Curriculum and Instructional Materials, and Ms. Era is going to give us a review of this.
Good evening. Today I'm going to be discussing our proposal for a new K12 Science Curriculum. It has to be right there. Okay. So this is kind of the big picture of the curriculum review cycle. You can see that last year we transitioned to new social studies curriculum. This year is science. We currently use FOSS that was adopted in 2016, Discovery Education in 2016, and Biology 2016 was the first of the science core to be transitioned over with the new NGSS Science, and the other ones go back from 2013 to 2010. This was last year's M-STEP scores for science, trying to give you that big picture. You can see that we only take M-STEP in grades 5, 8, and 11. You can see that we are above county and state averages. Here for grade 5, we are above county averages and slightly below state averages in grade 8, and we are below county and state in grade 11. I think that this is a direct impact from the pandemic where students were not able to be able to experience hands-on science. This was the first year the M-STEP scores actually counted, because as you know, whenever there's new standard changes, there's about a 3-year grace period where those scores no longer count. So this was the first year that they do count. It'll be interesting to see trend data as they come out yearly after this. So what I would like you guys to do right now is think back on your favorite science lesson that you've ever had back when you were in school. Does anybody want to share their favorite? Even just something about it?
Dissecting the fetal pig.
Oh, okay.
Who didn't love that?
Right
I
here.
opted for the essay.
Right here.
Miss Selter, I opted for the essay too. That's funny, but that's such a memorable moment. Anybody else want to share their most memorable science experience?
We never did the fetal pig, but we did owl pellets, which is a little
Oh
more
yeah,
kosher.
that's a great lesson.
I'm not gonna lie, mine's still in the basement.
You didn't want to let go.
No.
I think that the common trend in this activity is us remembering that it really wasn't that fantastic worksheet, it wasn't that great text, it was really the experience and the hands-on doing of the science that still to this day makes us reflect back pretty quickly as to what this was my favorite science lesson, this was most memorable. So thinking about the two proposed curriculums, really trying to emphasize the importance of the hands-on and the experiential experiences we're trying to create for our students. The K-8 curriculum, we reviewed several different ones. We reviewed Amplify, Mystery Science, our current one, FOSS, McGraw-Hill, as well as STEM Scopes. And K-8, without a doubt, landslide, was the Amplify Science. So, and this is our 6-8. We reviewed our current Discovery Education, MyStar, which was specific to 6-8 band, Amplify McGraw-Hill as well. And the 6-8 teachers also agreed that our choice would be Amplify Science. A little bit about Amplify Science. This is the digital components. These are our scope and sequences. These are all the different units you can see in the K2 band, as well as I did an open curriculum review over here before. They'll be there after if you guys want to take a look, but they're really neat. Here is the 3 through 5 band.
So fun.
And also, I want you guys to also know that they run about 22 lessons each, which makes it very flexible and very doable for teachers. There's also an additional lesson that's not quite noted in this one, but all students actually get the opportunity to do an engineering internship at the end of every unit, which is actually correlated to our 9-12 curriculum as well. Here is the scope and sequence and the unit breakdown for 6 through 8. And once again, you can actually see that they have it built in with those engineering internships. Sorry, I lost my mouse icon.
It's on my screen. Go to your left.
Oh, hi. There we go. This is kind of really slow. Great. An inside look at the digital component for Amplify Science. You can see that it's state-of-the-art type of graphics. It comes along with videos. You're able to hook the students with that phenomenon hook. You can see the lesson breakdowns, teacher guides, everything that's inclusive. A breakdown further from the teacher point of view, all the different lessons up on the top tabs, the overviews, all the digital resources that come along. One of the neat things is that they actually have an unplugged component, so I'm really sorry, but sometimes when students say, my internet's down, there's no way I can do this. Well, now you can, all the time. You can just download the unplugged lesson, and done. So it's wonderful. For the 6-8 band, this is what it looks like, and what a neat lesson. If you guys can see over at the little purple assign button, you can see that it's compatible with Microsoft Teams, which is what Richmond uses, as well as the other one. But you can see all the different classroom slides and everything that goes along with it, the videos and all the different components. All of the teacher slides are completely customizable, so teachers can actually input their own slides, their own notes. So if there's something they would like to add to this, they are more than welcome to. The suggested teacher talk will only show on the teacher screen, not the screen for the students. So as you're sitting there engaged in a whole group lesson, what is so fantastic is that sometimes you forget those little mental notes as a teacher of, oh my gosh, I really needed to emphasize this or this point, or what are some things. You can have your suggested teacher talk. Obviously, it's completely optional for teachers to use, but what a fantastic tool for brand new teachers that don't want to forget or miss a step in that lesson. It also comes along with the digital components of interactive simulations. They're actually able to go deep down into understanding things that they would never be able to see in a hands-on lesson, and they get to actually do those digital simulations that only deepen their learning about the target. That was Amplify. Does anybody have any questions about Amplify before I move on to overall?
It looks fun.
It is? Okay, so I'm not joking. It's probably one of the best curriculums I've ever seen. It is so fun.
It looks fun.
The metabolism unit, it's really interactive. Like kids will go in, you'll start your lesson, and then you have to diagnose what's wrong with this girl. She says, I'm tired all the time. You watch this video done with actors. I'm tired all the time. What's wrong with her? And the kids have to investigate asthma or anemia and all these different things, and then they have to become research like experts in them and come together and collaborate and be able to argue what's wrong with this girl. So one of the lessons, it shows up one day, and then all of a sudden the teacher stops because they hear a ding. And this is all part of the science curriculum. They get a live email from the doctor saying there's been an advancement in the case. And all the kids are like, oh my gosh, stop everything. I gotta take notes on the new advancement in the case. But how real world is that? You get new advancements and you get emails and you get things like that changes your argument, your theories all the time. So anyways.
You can tell Renee's a little excited.
I was like, can I go back and be in that class? Because that's awesome.
Sign me up.
I know the kids over here going, that sounds like a cool lesson, right? I will spoil it for you and tell you what disease she has. You guys can figure that out. So the 9-12 curriculum, we reviewed Inspire Science, the National Geographic, HOLT, which is our current one, Cengage, and HMH.
Harcourt.
Thank you. And the 9-12 teachers all agreed that Inspire Science is the one that we would like to have. In case this looks kind of familiar, we actually adopted the McGraw-Hill Social Studies. And so what a beautiful relationship that you have these two curricular tools that are formatted very similar so the kids get a similar experience with totally different content, but they're not wasting time trying to figure out how to navigate the system. It's already going to be in a familiar layout and instructional design for them ready to go. Here is the scope and sequence you can see for biology, chemistry, and physics. And we are going to do physical science with the earth science integrated. And of course it's NGSS aligned. And what's neat about this particular text is it'll tell you which exact one it's addressing. So whether it's addressing the science and engineering practice, the disciplinary core ideas, and the cross-credit concepts, so teachers can emphasize more and more about those as part of the NGSS structure. Similar to the social studies curriculum adopted last year, there are different modalities in which children can learn these different curriculums. One is more teacher-led, one is more student-led. But there's different opportunities for students to do different models, thinking about our honor students, thinking about our advanced students, thinking about different ways that children learn project-based. There's different ways and pathways that teachers can choose and students can choose of how they'd like to learn the concepts. Here is just kind of an overview of the lesson formatting. It'll always be in this familiar structure for the students, the opener, the module, the lessons, and the unit close. Always providing that structure is good for lessons. This is also really neat, so I want to bring your attention to this piece that is integrated in the Inspire Science is the claim evidence reasoning. And why that sounds so familiar is because that is directly correlated to SAT and PSAT. So the fact that that's embedded will automatically help us increase that disciplinary in English and help improve our SAT scores because that's actually embedded into the structure of the lessons. As well as you can see their virtual labs and the different modules. From the student side, they can actually have the text read to them. A lot of times we have students with IEPs, we have English language learners in our classrooms, and that's just a wonderful feature to be able to offer it to be read to them. As well as sometimes, I mean, look at these words. I mean, I think it would be nice if they could be read to me too. So even without those things, I think it's a great thing to have on your curriculum. All of the lessons are built-in interactive, so they can be assigned through their Schoology. The students can type right into the fillable slides, and then that can be given to their teachers for that assignment. Instead of the entire workbook having to bring it in each day, this singleton sheet can actually be assigned, they fill it in, and then upload it. And then, of course, just all the different assessment portions of the curriculum. Talked about the reading skills, their formative assessments, which is so important, and the performance task, which is directly correlated to MSTEP. This is the professional development plan for being able to integrate the new curriculums. You can see year one implementation. We would have 3 half days to talk about our critical components, our ideal gold standard of implementation, acceptable and unacceptable variations. And then, of course, in year 2, what's really important is making sure that review the plan for new staff or members utilizing the curriculum. And then, of course, launching into year 3, which is the universal usage guidelines. And I do have a teacher here in the audience who would also like to speak about how he'll inspire. So, Mr. Trent, I'll leave you guys with this quote. We can teach from our experience, but we cannot teach experience, which is why having a hands-on, experience-driven curriculum is so important in K-12.
So I'm here to speak for the 4 of us science teachers. We're able to sit down with Miss Era and look at the groups of textbooks she had. And hands down, I mean, it was pretty quick. We all agreed on those McGraw-Hill ones. I was able to sit down last year when I was teaching social studies through the social studies part and bring some of that experience with a lot of the online components she talked about. The big thing we really liked as science teachers is some of the stuff that's in there is things we're already doing and it can expand on it. Like there's the University of Colorado PhET simulation thing, so we've done them for balancing equations. And you put the little things on it, it balances on the scale. The activity they had with that went above and beyond what we've been doing with it, and things like, oh my gosh, I didn't think to do that, to kind of deepen that understanding. And the big push we really wanted was having a textbook that aligns to that NGSS curriculum. Our current textbooks we had, and I can speak for the chemistry one, is if I wanted to align the textbook with the curriculum, we're jumping in and out of chapters, in and out of sections. We got to take something from here, and as a kid, jumping from chapter to chapter in the book is pretty confusing. So having these would align all of that with a lot of the things we're already doing and kind of deepen some of those. So we're really excited at the prospect of being able to use that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
Can I go back to elementary school?
I know, we all do it again.
I want to go back and
Shoot.
teach.
Doesn't that make you?
Oh, you have something to say.
No.
In your packet, you will see some cost proposals from various companies. This is not a small ticket item. The cost of this will be funneled. I don't know if you want to share with that.
So on, I believe, page 4 of your internal packet, I do have the cost proposal and funding sources for both curriculums, as well as, before, gas. I reached out to 2 other vendors and also got quotes. They're in your, toward the back of the packet, just for you guys to see that this really, truly is the cost of science. If you want the kits, if you want the hands-on experiences for kids, luckily, we were able to streamline a lot of these through our unspent dollars from grants. But it looks like that we would be able to charge majority of it to grants, and then we would be able to actually have a curriculum budget for the 22-23 school year as well.
So the total cost of the K12 is $256,000, a little over 250, almost 256,700, or 300, excuse me. Talk to them about the replenishing in that process, because throughout this whole process, Ms. Era and I and Tammy, our business manager, never talked dollars. I wanted her to have the focus on finding the best curriculum for our students and staff, and finding something that has staff buy-in, finding something that has the resources staff need to provide the best education for kids. If many of you have been around, you've seen our staff. They do phenomenal work, and for years they have had to pull things together and spend their time on, I'm going to say, the planning side, which is important. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of thought that goes into a lesson. But if we could take some of that time away because the resources are there for them so that they can devote their time into the dynamic teaching, what we went into education about, that's really where I want their energy is focused on, the actual classroom with kids and providing the best environment. So, when this was all said and done,
Renee timidly came into my office and said, okay, this is a lot more than the curriculum budget. I said, but the question I had, is this the right materials for our staff and students? And if the answer is yes, we will figure out a way. Part of this is science is typically the most expensive curriculum when you're doing a curriculum adoption. There's a lot of resources and stuff that come with it. So we had an opportunity using unspent grant dollars that we've gotten MDE signing off that yes, we can use this. And again, it's dollars that we allocated but never spent is where we're targeting these dollars. But I want to talk about the resources because one of the things I don't want is staff to have to go spend their evenings at Kroger or Dollar Store finding materials.
So one of the joys of the Amplified Science is that it's 100% all-inclusive. So every year, students will get a kit brought to them and then brought to their classroom that this is your kit of the consumables item. So it's actually coming along with an entire differentiated classroom library, read alouds, things like that with the curriculum. Those are the one-time purchases. But all of the hands-on experiments are all-inclusive. So this is also a quote for a 6-year deal. So it is, when you think about it, $256,290.56, but it is actually broken down over 6 years. And luckily McGraw-Hill was able to match us a quote with also 6 years. That's going to be lovely because in 6 years it's all up instead of one being,
Right.
a different year. So you can see the cost breakdown of Amplified, K5, 6-8, and then the McGraw-Hill Inspire Science, 9-12. So with McGraw-Hill, they're not getting the labs, they're getting the digital, they're getting their textbooks for every student in the classroom. And then we go through Carolina Biological or Flint Science for the labs, and that's a typical yearly expenditure.
Questions on it?
How does this rate, like nationally? Are school districts raving about it? Is this something that's got a lot of buy-in?
Absolutely, it is the top-notch. It's the Taj Mahal of science curriculums. I actually included in your backup packet a research document about Amplify Science, saying that the data is showing that they're not only improving their science scores on InStep, they're improving their math scores, they're improving their literacy scores, and they actually are. One of their company mottos is we teach science, but we also teach reading. And that is really important for a curriculum to say something like that. We're actually teaching how to read through science.
And if you think about just the aspect of the read aloud version of it, a developmental learner learns first how to read through oral language and hearing what that language sounds. As you go up in the curriculum, and we probably all have faced it in some fashion when course you get to a point where the content language becomes, you're focusing on how to read it and figure out how the words are, and you're losing the content of what the meaning of that is. So this will also help in that process, which is part of their philosophy about teaching reading. Because it is a piece, that oral language is critical, and if students can hear how it's pronounced correctly the first time, then it's going to help in the long-term situation.
Sounds good.
So this will be out there for 2 weeks. If you have any questions or comments or need anything further, just let us know. We'll be more than happy, and we'll come back on the May the 23rd board meeting for approval.
You'll also see teacher recommendation letters also included in the package, so
It's towards the back of the packet, there's like letters of recommendations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item on our agenda is our 2023 general fund budget assumptions and discussion. Mr. Walmsley.
Okay, I'm just going to come up, we began to discuss it last time with some enrollment projections and per pupil, and at that time we only had 2 of the 3 budgets that were out. Since then, the House released its budget. The governor's budget was $435 per pupil. The Senate's budget was $450 per pupil. The House released budget was $300 per pupil. So when we started this process last time, we were at $200 as our starting point of an increase. I would recommend that the board move that to $300 as that is the lowest amount. You'll also see in your packet that I left on the table, and if anybody from the public wants it, I have copies up here. You will see the comparison of the three budgets, what they include and what they don't include. The Senate's version is pretty simple. There's not a whole lot to it. They have a lot of boilerplate language, but there's a lot of other dollars that are available for school districts. So I'm not even at this point recommending the board consider those until the budgets get worked out. But I would ask you that if you wanted to move the $200 to $300 per pupil, I feel that would be a safe move, just because that's the lowest of the three. If you want, we can adjust it higher. But taking into consideration the other items that we had, and I will increase this for you to see on your some of the items that we had, a $300 per pupil increase equates to, if we assume, again, we have 11 students up next year, and we assume the $300 per pupil, that equates to about $610,000 of additional revenue. When you back out towards the bottom of those, you'll see that what we know are our expenses already. We already have an $18,000 increase for healthcare costs. We know bringing custodians back in-house is going to be about $350,000 increase. Settlements of teacher or administrator contracts, the net on that is 61. Settling the contract for teachers for next year is 195. Contracts for secretaries is 12. Contracts for parapro, which is 13. Adding a fifth grade, adding another teacher with some singleton courses is about $80,000. Taking away those one-time expenses that are budgeted this year that we will not have for next year, it nets to be about $157,000 left to allocate as a board. Some of the items that are still on here, as you asked me to do, and I have some of that information, is I put on in your the revised Section 9 a cost for non-union, which includes preschool, GSRP, childcare, IT department, transportation, central office, lunchroom, COVID aids, alternative education person. You'll see in what it would cost for a 1%, 2%, and 3% increase. With all the other contracts settled, these are the only ones that do not have a contract. They have a contract for next year, but no dollar value for next year. You also see on here, and I can go into more, there was questions about athletic budgets, and could we start looking at supplies for athletics and uniforms for athletics and being cost. I am still working on the trap team, art band, and choir, and robotics. Those are the groups that I have not had a chance to sit down and meet with them to go over them. So you still see some of that. If I'm going too fast, holler. The athletics, yes.
I'm gonna
yes.
holler. Go back to, okay, you haven't worked on the others, so this
Yep.
this dollar amount for the athletics, this is what you're going to throw in there? Is that what you're saying to me?
So what we did, the answer is yes, but what we did is we took the, Mr. Reinhardt met with, in some fashion, whether in person or via email, and took each of the athletic budgets, what was the cost of the program, and established what is needed for next year based on the coaches. So you will see in your board back of one for each sport, the total of what each sport added up to indicated that there are roughly $58,000 in needed supplies for next year, and uniforms, $48,000 in uniforms.
Okay, so that will be the line item for the budget for next year for athletics, $58,000 for supplies and equipment, $49,000 for uniforms for the whole year.
I would ask to put another $5,000 on that supplies, because there are things like letters and pins and stuff, other costs that aren't directly that we would
Okay,
cover. But
right.
yes,
But my question was, that's what's going to be in the line item that we're approving the budget.
if the board,
58,000 for supply.
if that's what the board wants, we can either put it as a line item, or you can create a line item for each sport. So that sport knows what they have. And so when you look at each tab for each sport, you'll see what the breakdown is. But yes, that's what supplies needed for next year. Uniforms that would be scheduled for next year. And as I said, the trap, because we don't have as much oversight on trap, so there's a little more that we need to do with trap, band, choir, art, and then robotics was on the list too, which I have not had a chance to meet with them yet. So those are the last 5 from our last meeting. There's nothing in enrollment that I would change our projection. I think we're steady on that one. Like I said, we could easily put, if the board wanted to make $400 the assumption of per pupil, it changes it and equates to $764,000 in increased revenue.
I think I'd be good with the 300.
I would too. I would not want to go any higher than that for right now.
300 is the lowest of the 3 budgets. And it's,
I wouldn't, because I think that amended and whatever whenever.
Well,
we
but
do that.
even between now and when we actually vote on it, who
What
knows
happened?
what it'll be too, but let's stick with the one.
I would agree.
Now, this athletics line item, this is just for this year, or going into next year. Would we get a new line item the following year then again?
that 58,000 for supplies you're
That's what I would
referencing to the
think.
uniform. So what would happen is we know what was purchased, we put out the request, okay, what do you need for the 23-24, and begin building it. Now, that year, there may be, let's assume the softball pitching machine dies, and there's a larger ticket item that may come out. That would come at that point. But
So every year that figure is going to change.
It's going to change.
if that's what the board wants as going forward, then that would be the process going forward, is we put out and say, okay, what are your needs? And we either do it as a line item by sports, or we do it as a general line item, knowing that here's what that totals and how we came to that number.
I don't think we need it line item for every sport.
I don't either.
Just knowing with the presentation where it showed uniforms every so many years, whatever it said, every 3 years, just so that as a board, we knew that, okay, we're in year 1 of this, and you know what I'm saying, but I don't think we have to know every sport as a line item.
Okay, so before I can agree or whatever, when we have that conversation, I'd like to see what else we
The other
needed.
ones, yeah.
That's the other ones, please.
And like I said, on that sheet, those are the other items, and again, just stuff that the board consider. Copier settlement, contract settlement for non-union, you have a 1, 2, and 3. Basically, it's about $30,000 when you add FICA retirement for each 1% for all the other bargaining, for all the other members in that group. And this would then, everybody in the district, and again, I'm not part of this group, would have their wages for next year set. The other thing to consider is, as you saw tonight, we have currently $100,000 that we've allocated by the board's allocated for the last couple of years for curriculum. Going forward, if you did $10 a pupil, that really should be about $160,000-ish, which is a general rule of thumb, an industry standard. So we really should start looking at that, at least putting a little more aside. Copiers were put in 2017, I believe. Or then 18? No, 17, because this is their 5th year.
But didn't you say at the last meeting that that's what we needed to do?
Yeah, I thought.
So
I thought that was a given.
copier replacement, it's to replace these copiers in 2017, it was $105,000 district-wide. If you add anywhere between a 15-20% increase, you're at $120,000. So I would recommend the board, you start putting $30,000 away. I believe that the more we can charge towards grants this year, your bottom line at the end of this year could be your reset for copiers going into next year. to be able to purchase copier, so that by the time 4 or 5 years comes, you'll have the money sitting in the account, much like you're doing with the turf, laptops, buses, and all that down the road.
So Ryan, you're saying, Ryan, so just buy what we need this year, all of them, replace all of them again? I mean, do we haven't rotated it, have we ever with the
What we
copy
did
machines?
2 years ago was we took the copiers and we rotated. What we did is we rotated and took the high volumes and put them into a low volume area and so forth. We did it across the district. I got a lot of pushback from that because copiers are very building possessive. I don't know how to say it politely. So what we would probably do is rotate them within the building so that the building staff is responsible for the care of their copiers. So as copiers get a high volume in one area, the next time we shift it, put another copier, just rotate it so that the wear and tear is evenly distributed. We did that, we've done that once. I shouldn't say it, we've done it twice. Once district-wide and once we've done it within the district, or within the building, excuse me. So we've been trying to maintain it. The copiers were only meant to last 4 or 5 years. We are at the end of the 5th year. Our agreement goes through January of '23. We can extend it, but then the cost...
And that's why you said to do it.
That's why
Okay.
I believe
I knew there
that
was something.
everything forecasting right now shows our bottom line is going to be better than what we predicted in February, because we've been pushing things to grant. We've charged, things that normally would general fund, we've charged it to grant. So the general fund bottom line is better. This will give you an opportunity to replace them all next year. Begin putting money aside so that in 4 or 5 years, that money will be there so that you can replace them in 4 or 5 years. The paper cut that we put on the copier is, believe it or not, I know it's a pain to double click for staff members to go in, but it has saved thousands and thousands of dollars in unused paper, things that were sent to the copier that people forgot about, not printing, ink costs. It has saved a lot of money district-wide just by having that feature. And then you'll see the other line items that we could. So if you wanted to put the copier set aside, again, I'll just put 30,000 on this placeholder. It brings your totals down to you're at a 127 with a $300 increase. So the stuff in pink on this is the stuff to consider and prioritize what we want to do. But I will have for you at the next meeting the last 5 trap, choir, band, art, and robotics for the last 5 for you to look at the big picture.
Okay.
And I think that's everything you've asked for in looking at this budget.
Do you know if there's a significant lag time in ordering and getting copiers? I mean, you can't get anything right now. Do you know what
We met with the copier, the company. It's about a 2-month process to get copiers.
Okay.
Not really.
And they're also recommending, it's a similar model, but we have some copiers that, like we have a color copier in every building, which is, I would not recommend not having at least one, because it is beneficial for a lot of the stuff that schools are doing in classroom. But some of the high volumes that we have, we need to relook at where we're placing those high volume copiers. Like, for instance, we have a high volume copier in the elementary office, which you would think, because of all the Friday folders and papers that go home in the elementary school and copying note, that is the least used copier in the building right now. So moving that high volume to more of an area where more classroom teachers would have direct access to it would be a better move. So they, or not purchasing high volumes and purchasing a bunch of like medium copiers so that they produce more copies per minute than the ones we currently have.
Do you know, has our copy numbers gone up or gone down?
I don't know that. I don't have that chart in front of me. I know it obviously went down during the pandemic.
Right. I only asked that because I know we talked about some of our books now that we have technology with it. Are we making less copies?
I will bring that report.
I'm just curious. I know there is a report, you can pull them on the machines. I'm just curious.
I will.
Thank you.
Can I just go back to the school aid budget, this document?
Yes.
What does rural transportation payments mean?
Which page? Rural
The very-
transportation
yeah.
payments. Basically, this is for Upper Peninsula. They provide more funding for districts in the Upper Peninsula because they travel. Their buses have more mileage put on them than districts in the southern, or the Lower Peninsula. So they get a per person increase stipend to help cover their transportation costs. Basically, you keep a bus about 10 years, about 100,000 miles. After that, you keep a bus about 10 years. Their buses are averaging 8 years or 9 years or less. So they're replacing buses more often than districts in this area. So they get a stipend for it. Geographically, they transfer. Now, it's hard for me to actually say that with a straight face because we have kids on the bus that are for 60 minutes a day.
Yes,
in
we do,
Richmond.
which would have been my
Richmond
statement, yes.
in our Macomb County is, I believe it is the largest geographic district in the county. But we don't qualify for rural transportation payments. That's what that's for.
Okay. I think I'm going to ask for the qualifications. I think I'm going to look that up. Yes,
Okay.
Deb, I am.
You are? Good. I'd like to hear it. Brian, anything else?
The last thing I'll say is last week I had an opportunity to be in Lansing where we met with Senate and House leaders, budget fiscal. There is a drive to get the school aid budget done by June 1st.
Of course
They're
there is.
they're all pushing for us. The general fund, not so much, but school aid budget because...
It's an election year.
It's election year, and I don't know if you know this, but there will be 93 brand new House and Senate members this coming November. That's two-thirds that are going to be brand new that have termed out, that we will have no lack of historical knowledge coming in there. And that is worrisome for me because you usually come in sometimes with potential agendas or forgetting kind of what proposal they did to school districts, and you got to re-educate people. So, but just keep that in mind. There'll be 90 plus brand new House and Senate members this November. And that alone, Macomb County's got 23 now new House representatives, where I think we had 12 before. We're now up to 23 with the redistricting of all the boundaries. So it will be interesting this November election, but that's all I have.
Okay. Okay, our next item on our agenda is Ms. Swansea with the bond update.
Just a couple things. The parking lot renovation behind the auditoriums started today. They started working. Work continues on the softball field behind the middle school. Again, the other 3 diamonds are planned for late June to begin the varsity baseball, JV baseball, and the current varsity field in June. Building air conditioners. In air conditioning. This week, we expect to test air conditioning. I'm going to be honest with you, we have never tested the air conditioned systems out because we've never been at a point since they were put in that the outside air temperature was greater than than what was called for. Except we've had them on weekends, but we were in unoccupied mode. So this week, we have a couple 80-degree days scheduled. I just want to remind the board and the listening audience, the way it works is as the room temperature reaches a certain point, and our range is 68 to 72, it was just reset this week. So it may have started getting some cold air because that's the normal range. If the outside temperature exceeds 60 or 72 degrees, it will call on the first cycle of the air conditioning to begin pulling in cold air. If the outside air temperature is less than 72 degrees, it pulls in the outside air to cool the building rather than the air conditioning. If the temperature on the outside gets over 80 degrees, phase 2 of the air conditioner kicks on, so you get more air coming into the building. Okay? So please be patient, staff and students, if there's a hiccup as we test it this week. We've put some that we can force open and try and everything's worked, but there are some that you got to wait till the programming all works. So Other than that, that's it for the bond.
Okay, at this time, our next agenda item is public comments. Since the last board meeting, I have not received any emails from the public. Any member of the public may address the board at this time. Please sign in and state your name. You will have 3 minutes to address the board. Are there any public comments?
Yes, Richmond Robotics team would like to step up and say a couple words. Where do we sign in at?
It's up on the podium.
Hello everyone, I am Mikey DeLeo, the design lead, driver, and 4-year team member of your Richmond High School robotics team. On behalf of myself and the whole team, we are extremely thankful for your help on getting us to the Houston Championships, especially on such notice. Without your contribution, there was no way we would be able to have made it to the World Championship in Houston, Texas. We finished our season placing 152nd out of 460 teams at the World Championship, which throughout the high school robotics teams in the world, that is the top 4.7%. Again, thank you for your continued support, and we would like to present you with a small token of our appreciation at this time.
Good job, guys.
Good job. Thank you very much. Thank you, by the way, for your patience. Are there any other public comments at this time? Okay, we're going to move on to our superintendent and legislative update.
To start, I'd like to echo what they said to the board. This is truly remarkable what the opportunity you guys gave this robotics team. And I know it's very short notice, and there's never been a doubt to support the robotics, but it's life-changing for a lot of the events. So I thank you on behalf of not only them, but also the students, because it's definitely a feather in our cap when I can tout to the other superintendents what our kids were able to do and go in such a short notice, and the commitment that this board has. So thank you. Thank you. Couple things. They're starting some hearings. I'll be honest, it's kind of noise at the federal level is so blurry, I don't even know what's true anymore from the federal government. But there was a hearing last couple weeks ago regarding the K12 budget for next year. I can have hope and I can have optimism. I just hope they pull through on the dollars. But there's some increased dollars that they're planning for the IDEA. I'm very interested in the $350 million that they're trying to advocate for school staff recruitment and retention, keeping people into the field. There's another $1 billion that they're looking to allocate for healthcare programs to hire more mental health professionals, social workers, etc., counselors. There's another $1 billion for English language acquisition that they're advocating for. Title I funding for the last several years has every year we've gone down and gone down. There's another $19 million that they're trying to increase in Title I funding. There's another $438 million at the federal level that they're trying to increase for wraparound service partnerships with community organizations that wrap around the school district hours. And then there's a first-time investment of $30 million to improve education outcomes for students in foster care systems. Those are the big items at the federal level that they're looking to increase or change. At the state level, last Wednesday and last Thursday, the House and Senate passed their budgets, bills, which you see on the sheet independently of each other. Now we're in the process where they take the budgets and try to come to some compromise. There were very few changes from their original budgets that was reported several weeks to what was actually approved. The Senate did add about $6 million for Oxford Public Schools to help cover the costs incurred of the tragedy last fall, where the House included $3.5 million to cover some of the costs. The Senate added another section in their budget of $70 million to address learning loss. Under this section, districts would have to hold a public meeting and present how they would intend to use and address learning loss for all students. And then by August 15, 2023, the districts would have to report to the legislature. I don't know how that would look other than a report how the funds are actually spent. In the House bill, they eliminated funding for the YMCA and added new sections dealing with mental health. It took federal funds to match mental health grants, created some new sections in the budget for mental health coordinators as well as emergency and safety managers at each ISD for that aspect. And like I said, I gave you a copy of the comparison. It's just if you haven't had a chance to see it, take a minute to read it. It is pretty interesting, the comparison. At the House, they began hearing testimony on House Bill 1620, which created what is called Student Mental Health Apprenticeship Retention and Training Internship Grant Program. Basically what they're doing is people who are going into the mental health field, counselors, social workers, they're providing them stipends or lump sum dollars at the end of their apprentice so that they're not necessarily working for free, but they're actually getting some type of benefit to get more people to choose to go into the mental health field. The Senate had an identical bill called Senate Bill 1012. Again, these bills are aiming at increasing the number of people going into the mental health, particularly in the schools school sector. The critical shortage list, it's a list that's created each year about basically if you're a retired person and you're on the critical shortage list, you can come back and work and not have to jeopardize your pension. They have extended the critical shortage. Last Wednesday, the House passed the bill 102-1. The bill extends the critical shortage law to allow retirees to return to the classroom without losing their pension benefits to 2031. If this doesn't say there's going to be an educator shortage, it's coming. It's already here, but it's coming even more. Just as a side note, I don't know, a friend of mine was talking about his son graduating from the University of Michigan, and they have a huge program with all their graduates and everybody that, you got 5,000, 2,000, so forth. 750 people graduate out of the College of Education from the University of Michigan, which is, in the Michigan State, one of the largest teaching producers, is significantly down. So the number of people going in is going to be very few and coming out. On this critical shortage list law, what helps on it, again, it's not law yet because it's just been passed, but it ends the requirement for the district to pay the MIPSFR's unfunded liability costs. Basically, the retirement rate is at 43%. It's capped at 22%, so that difference, we get a UAAL payment, and we turn around and send that right back to the state, and every year that's legislatively done. This law doesn't require us to process that payment. It's we're just capped at the 22. So a couple things we're watching on there, at least give us some flexibility. Congratulations to the Richmond Middle School Choir on Tuesday, April 26th, after our last board meeting. They participated in the Michigan State Vocal Music Association. They received first division rating, earning 80 out of 90 points from a panel of 3 adjudicated judges and earned medals. Same thing at the high school the next day on Wednesday, April 27th. They also received first division rating, 81 out of 90 points. So congratulations to those two groups. Lee Elementary School reports they are beginning NWA testing, which will be finished by May 19th for the spring cycle. Tomorrow begins 3rd grade M-STEP math testing. Lee Elementary has partnered with Lois Wagner, and we'll be holding a Books for Bikes assembly on May 26th. Students have read numerous books on their own and completed tasks to go along with those books. 17 third grade students will be receiving brand new bicycles for their reading efforts at the 26th assembly. And Richmond Middle School is also, they've completed their M-STEP and are now moving on to the NWA spring assessment. All 3 buildings are scheduled to finish on May 20th to be done with all testing so we can get the spring results. Middle school also received a $500 grant from Pit Stop Gas Station on 32 in Gratiot for their programs at the middle school. So if you stop and you need gas, stop at 32 in Gratiot, or at least maybe give them some business to help as a thank you for giving us a donation. There's a gas prices now, it's probably a couple fill-ups, I don't know. But at the high school, the Blue Devil Cafe officially opened last week to the public. Just a reminder, it's open from 11 to 1 every Thursday and Friday from now until Memorial Day. If you haven't had a chance, if you try to sneak it in your schedule, I know the kids enjoyed it and the food is very good. Tomorrow, the senior class of 2022 senior class picture composite will be taken on the football field tomorrow. Seniors' last day is Wednesday, May 18th, which is 1 week from Wednesday. This Thursday, our early College of Macomb students will be graduating at 4 p.m. at the Jimmy Johns Field. These are students who graduated last year who went on to Macomb Community College to finish, and they'll be graduating with an associate's degree. Forgive me, I'm going to, Madeline Devlaminik, help me out from last year. Thank you, I knew I was going to do that. I told Jamie when I was tonight. Sarah Gasco, Brianna Hill, Christopher Rochon, Melissa Rochon, Julie Rock, Alyssa Sisterman, and Caitlin Steers. These are students that, again, will be earning, are in the early college and will be getting their associate's degree or scheduled to. And just a reminder, the class of 2022 graduation is on Wednesday, May 25th at the Macomb Center for the Performing Arts, beginning at 7 o'clock. I'd like to congratulate Pam Daly, our Community Liaison and Power School Coordinator, who just went through her February count day audit. The auditors were here last week and noted that the materials they requested were present, accurate, and the district was well prepared for the audit. A thank you also goes out to Denise Pinsky and Beth Klein, because elementary was the school that got audited for their work and preparation. It is a lot of hard work, a lot of crossing your T's and dotting your I's, and there's a lot of stress because they all take pride in that, but they got a growing report, so our numbers are good for that angle. And with that, that's all I have.
Thank you. Okay, items of interest from the board. We'll start at this end. Arnold?
Nope.
James?
Nothing.
Kyle?
I did have a chance to eat at the Blue Devil Cafe, and it is fantastic. From just the whole experience from them, it's just like a restaurant. They seat you, they take your order, they bring you your drinks. It's just fantastic, and the menu was great, and everyone at our table was very happy with the food. It was excellent.
Cool. Danielle?
I ate there as well, and the club sandwich, they asked me whole or half, and I thought, a whole one, of course, but holy cow, a half is plenty sufficient. It was massive.
A whole one feeds 4.
Yes. And I think we got the Alfredo too, and the Alfredo would feed 4 as well. So it was really good.
Angela?
I'm all set, thank you.
And I don't have anything this evening. Okay, we're now going to move on to our action items. I'm looking for a motion for the approval of board resolution for student 012422A discipline hearing.
I motion that following a closed session student discipline hearing, the board votes to reinstate student 012422-A consistent with the attached resolution.
Do I have support?
Support.
Okay. We'll pick one of you. Any discussion?
Just to clear, the attached resolution is the original resolution that shows the student met the criteria. Just so you know. So I will pull that original resolution.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Looking for a motion for the approval of a board resolution for student 050922 disciplinary hearing.
I motion that following a closed session student discipline hearing, the board votes to suspend student 050922 consistent with the attached resolution.
Do I support?
Support.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Looking for a motion for the approval of a resolution of support for the Macomb Intermediate School District fiscal year 2023 budget.
I motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and approve the attached resolution of support for the Macomb Intermediate School District fiscal year 2023 budget as presented in the attached documentation.
Do I have support?
Support.
All those, or any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Nope, you have to ask for an abstention.
I'm
I have to
sorry,
abstain.
Margaret.
I work for the ISD
I'm
desk.
sorry. Thank you for reminding me. Every time we do this, so do I have one that abstain? Is that what I have to ask?
You go back and say,
Oh, so-
all in favor,
Okay.
opposed, abstain.
And then abstained.
Correct.
Okay. So I have all those in favor, opposed, and then
Aye.
abstain would be one. Okay, thank you for reminding me. Okay, motion carries.
No.
Oh,
You
motion,
have to-
but
Because I
you-
didn't, I have to
Just
abstain.
call it out all over again.
Yes.
All those in favor?
Okay,
Yes.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain.
I have to abstain because I'm an employee of the MISD.
Thank you. Now does it carry?
Yes, it does.
Okay, being no further business, we will dismiss at 9:21.